And I find it to be more and more important, not only in my lives, but more important in what I wish you all would take advantage of than ever before, as the wider culture seems to have forgotten about Lent. I didn't hear one single reference this year to Lent on the news media. And as the wider culture simply goes on its merry way, I find it to be extraordinarily important for me in my life to have a season which we call Lent. And I must say we got off to a great start on Ash Wednesday with that sobering and somber service that so many of you came to the church for. The attendance, particularly at the 12:15 and the 7:30 p.m. services, was remarkable at St. Matthias this year. And many of you brought your children, which, again, I can't say enough about making a big impression upon children about what's really important in life. And the services of Ash Wednesday with the choir at the 7:30 service were phenomenally moving for me, for those of you who attended. And today, just an hour or so ago, the children participated in a kind of movable feast, in a way, a movable symbolic feast, where all of the children, thanks to Sue Ann McNear's leadership, went from classroom to classroom and learned about three very important symbols that the church maintains and holds up. And those are the symbols of ashes. Remember that you are dust, and unto dust you shall return. The symbol of water, which of course is contained in all three of the readings appointed for today. The water of baptism, the water which got us through the initiation from darkness into light. And that leads me to the third symbol that our children learned about in education today, the symbol of light. It's fitting that as we move into a season where there is more light outside, that we also learn how to cultivate the light that is already within us through our baptisms, through the waters of baptisms. And so I want to talk to you about Lent on this first Sunday in Lent. And I want to encourage you to, first of all, if you've already signed up online and received the channel online, that you read it very carefully. All of the issues are important, but this one in particular, I think, gives us a very good sense of what is present for us if we observe a Holy Lent. The covering, and there are a few hard copies of the March issue of the channel that are available on the tables, but if you've looked at it online, you will see that what Marilyn Kirkpatrick has done very cleverly is she has duplicated the Lenten carbon fast, which gives suggestions for how to observe a Holy Lent on each day of Lent. And inside of your channel, there is a section called Choosing Lent / Acting Lent. That conscious decision to choose to set aside a time when you can do certain things that put you back in touch with God, and not only put you back in touch with God, but put those around you back in touch with God, which I think is equally important and certainly needed. That our children see modeling of Lent, not only from their parents and grandparents, but do modeling of Lent to others. And this material is from the Episcopal Church, and it talks about a few ways to both choose how to observe Lent and then act in very concrete ways on how to live out Lent. Some of the symbols in our home need to be talked up because Lent makes a big difference for those who observe Lent as a family within the confines of their home. One of the symbols, of course, is the cross, or if you so choose, the crucifix. Place a crucifix or a cross in a prominent place in your house, and let your children or grandchildren notice it and ask questions about it. What's that all about? And secondly, place a symbol of water in a central place in your house to remind us all of the power not only of water itself, but the symbolic power of water as we use it in the sacrament of baptism, which is a kind of turning away from certain values and a turning toward life in Christ. That's the most important thing I think we can do as human beings, is to make that transition, however faultingly it may be done, but to use water as a symbol and as a sign in our lives that we are moving away from certain values which are all too prevalent in our culture and claiming other values which are timeless, eternal, and far, far more rewarding. Another symbol that you can place in your home is that of sand. And this is one that I would not have thought of, although we do have a wonderful sand area in the children's atrium here for 3 to 6 year old children, where they recall the desert in which the Jewish people wandered for 40 years, and the desert in which Jesus wandered for 40 days and 40 nights and was tempted by Satan. And the sandy times in our lives, too, when we wander through deserts of some of it our own making and some of it beyond our own making. But we have to learn how to deal with sandy times, of wilderness times, of times of dryness as well. And then another thing that's suggested that you put in your home as a symbol is a candle, a symbol of light and of hope and of joy. And finally, make sure that you have a Bible. A Bible that you can read and perhaps even use as a source of daily meditation. I know that in the Episcopal Church we publish a fine, fine book of daily meditations that you can purchase for, I think, $1 donation, called I'm blanking on it right now, but it's Forward Day by Day. You know, a good sermon is not just done by one person. Thanks, Bill. Forward Day by Day. It's an excellent way of taking a verse or two from Scripture and then have a brief meditation on it. And there are plenty of other avenues that you can pursue as a daily Bible meditation, as a way of kind of developing a soul about your house. And we don't talk much about the family environment as possessing a soul, but that's exactly what we're trying to cultivate and what we're trying to grow during the season of Lent. A culture, a soul that has about it some depth. And another way that the channel points out to observe a Holy Lent is to include a daily act of love for our family. I'll repeat that. Include a daily act of love for our family. The text says, can we look around and see some small thing that needs to be done to make our lives together better? Just one effort by each of us each day can make a dramatic difference in sharing the workload in our family. Now pay attention to this. The grace we are reaching for goes beyond getting the garbage taken out, for example. We know it is a grace when my experience of taking the garbage out feels to me like an act of love, an act of solidarity as a family. I said this at the earlier service, and I will say it again today. What a difference it makes to be raised in a family where your mother or father says, Johnny, you need to take the garbage out, and you need to do it now because it stinks. Or to be raised in a family where we say, we share and cooperate with one another for the common good. And we do things for each other in a sacrificial way out of a sense of love for God. Boy, I want to be a part of that second family. I'll still do the same chores, and the garbage will still get taken out, but boy, does it ever make a difference in the spirit in which it is taken out. Do you hear me? That's the power of Lent, allowing us to sacramentalize, to make sacred all of the things that we otherwise would be called upon to do. But in Lent, we are consciously called upon to do them in a spirit of love. And there are other things that you can do during the season of Lent. Prayer before meals. About 10 years ago, I got in touch with the fact that this broccoli that was on my plate, it gave its life so that I could eat. It gave its life for me. Now, if I can't say thanks to God, not only for giving me that broccoli, but specifically saying thank you to that broccoli, shame on me. You think about it, how interrelated we all are, not only as human beings, but everything is interrelated. And even those chickens that you see sometimes going down the road on the way to the slaughterhouse, remember that they are giving their lives for us. And it's at least appropriate to say a prayer of thanksgiving for their lives. So pray, and pray as a family before your meals. And we have wonderful forms in the Episcopal Book of Common Prayer and elsewhere for prayers in the morning, or even oftentimes just free-form kind of prayer in the car. I'll guarantee you, I would rather be driving next to somebody who is praying while they're waiting for a traffic light to turn, rather than texting and waiting for a traffic light. Pray in the car, free-form. Pray over the weekend. Pray in other times as well. And perform certain rituals. This text in the channel recommends that one of the simplest and most natural ways is to trace a cross on a loved one's forehead. Make the sign of the cross on your spouse's forehead and see if it doesn't make a difference in your marriage. Make the sign of the cross on your children's forehead and see if they don't come alive. Ask Daddy and Mommy, why are you doing that? And then they'll smile and tell you. One of the most moving things I do is when I'm present at the death of a parishioner, usually in a hospital setting. Part of the ritual I perform is to make the sign of the cross on their forehead and to say, "Depart, O Christian soul, out of this room." If it's that powerful for me, how much more powerful it is for those of us who are still not near death, but in life. Make the sign of the cross on your loved one's forehead as an act of great love for them and for God. It's more powerful than you can ever imagine. And finally, pray for each other. We have a wonderful prayer list here at the church, and I urge you to just simply maybe take your bulletins home with you every day, every Sunday, and pray for the people that are on that prayer list. And add names if you come across them. Just this morning, we came across the names of 2 people to pray for, 2 departed souls to pray for, and so we will in this service. Power of prayer is far more supportive than we ever give ourselves credit for until we need them. And then we find ourselves moving immeasurably, knowing that others are praying for us. So those are some of the ways that we can keep a holy Lent. I am going to be offering an inquirer's class for all people 16 years of age and older, mostly obviously adults, on next Sunday, March 4th from 4 until 6. Again on March 11th from 4 until 6. And then on March 25th from 4 until 6. We'll meet in Morrison Hall, and you are all invited to attend. If you want to be confirmed or received into the Anglican Communion when the bishop comes on May 20th this year, you will need to attend all 3 of those classes, but it's open to everyone. If you've been confirmed, or even if you haven't been and you just simply want to learn more about the history of the Anglican Communion, you can come and attend those 2-hour sessions on those 3 Sundays. In addition to that, there is a centering prayer group that is in the process of being formed. And they will occupy the time and attention of the adult topics class next Sunday, March 4th. You are free to join that as well. Not only during Lent, but an ongoing prayer and action group. So that centering prayer is not done just for the sake of prayer alone, but it converts into action in the world. It transforms, if ever so little, others. So those are some of the ways in which we offer here at St. Matthias to observe a holy Lent. I urge you to go ahead